Hey, welcome back to the blog. Before we get into the poker today, I want to ask you a little favor. As you know, I switched my intro song a couple months ago, and if you like the new song better than the old one, type in new. And if you prefer the old song, well, then type in old. It's kind of an informal poll, trying to see what my viewers prefer. Anyway, we're going to be playing over at Capital Casino, and it was another good week for poker. Ran into a couple very, very interesting spots. One of which where I was I'll just show you. Sit back, relax, enjoy. Here it comes. Well, we buy into the 1-3 game for $500. It's been about 25 minutes. Haven't really had too much to do, just breaking even. Here there's 4 players that limped in, and I am in the small blind with ace-jack offsuit. This is a good squeeze candidate. So I make it $30. Now the under-the-gun player who limped in, of course, jams his entire stack, which is not much. It's like $82. He puts it all in at this point. Could he have been slow playing something big, like aces or kings? I don't think so. I just think this is just a weak move. So I snap call. We see a flop that comes queen, jack, 7, turns a 4, rivers another 7, and he shows me King 7 suited, and then tells me how I hold over him. And I said, well, maybe if he stopped playing King 7, that would be different. About 15 minutes later, I pick up Ace King offsuit in middle position. Standard raise, $15. It's folded around to the small blind, who puts in the call for the 15, and so does the player in the big blind. It is a little bit short-handed. We're playing 7-handed on this particular hand. Flop comes out ace 10-4 rainbow. Pretty good flop for ace king. Both players end up checking. There are some gut shot straight draws, so I decided to bet $20 whole dollars. The player in the small blind thinks for a moment before putting in the call for the 20. The big blind folds, so we're heads up to the turn, which is a beautiful ace of spades. It makes us 3 aces with a good kicker. My opponent checks over to me again. Looks like a green light to get some value. Maybe he has a weaker ace or a pair of 10s that he wants to look me up with. So I bet out for $50. At this point, he grabs a stack of chips and slides it on in and raises me to 145. Okay, here's a big tip for those people playing poker. When you represent the top of your range, like I am with ace king, and I have a real hand, and I got a great flop and a great turn, and somebody check raises you, you better stop and think for a minute, because what the heck is he doing that with? If he is a conservative or even just a solid player, he's not getting out of line. He's putting you on the exact hand that you actually have, and he's saying, I can beat that. So in my mind, when I get check raised like this, and it is a solid or conservative player, I'm thinking, okay, maybe he has ace 10, ace 4, pocket 4s, pocket 10s. I think the weakest he's going to have is like ace king. Maybe he's doing it with ace queen, but I doubt it. I mean, he wouldn't go for the check raise in this spot. So I'm actually really considering folding, but it's only $95 more. And I'm going, God, can I really fold this for $95? Well, I'm going to make a call, and I consider this a very loose call. And I'm going to be careful on the, ooh, what a freaking river card that is. It's the ace of hearts. My opponent open folds pocket 4s and gets up and walks away from the table. Of course, I put a little bet out, making sure the pot comes my way. And I actually showed it because 4 aces with a king actually turns out to be the high hand for the shift. Now, my opponent, who got angry, rightfully so, got up and left the table. He was a 92% favorite on the flop with the ace 10-4 flop. And he was an 84% favorite even on the turn. And he got rivered. And what does he do when you get rivered like that? You take a break. He got up and he left. And I think he played the hand perfectly. I think his choice of leaving the table was ideal. because I'm sure that he's not going to be playing his best game anymore. As for me, I don't know whether I would have called off my last chips if a blank hit, because I ran into this almost the same situation a couple weeks ago, and I made what I called a loose call, and sure enough, the guy showed me a full house. So if you get in a situation like this, don't automatically just shove the chips in and call it a cooler. Stop and think a second and try to realize that you might actually be behind. Well, the next 45 minutes, I've just been chipping down, haven't had much to play. Here I'm in the big blind, and I get a free look at a flop with 6-4 of clubs. It's a small pot, $13 in there. Just want to make sure I don't run into a big hand. But flop comes out, 6-5 deuce. Well, that's a good flop for 6-4. I think it's the best to lead. Top pair, gut shot, backdoor flush draw. I bet $10. I get 2 players that were interested in continuing. Well, the turn card's a good one. It's a 6, so I have trips now with a straight draw. I lose my backdoor flush draw, of course, but yeah, 3 of a kind's pretty strong. I'm going to bet, and I'm going to make it for $30. I get a quick call from the player on my left. The other one folds out, and we get a river card of a 4 of spades. So we make a full house. Most likely it's best unless the player has 6-5 somehow. Question is, how much can I get out of him? And I think I can get a lot. 'Cause if he had a 6, I think he would have raised the turn. So most likely he has a straight draw. And if I was him, I would have like a hand like 7-8. So that's what I'm targeting. I decided to make about a pot-sized bet. It was a little bit short of that. I make it $90. He snap calls really quickly. And of course, I show the full house. And he just mucks his hand. But if I had to guess what he had, I would say it was 7-8. All right, there was a play that limped in. We get a raise to 15. Call from the button for 15. I got aces in the small blind. I make it $60. Only the original raiser puts in the call. So we're going to be heads up to a flop with 141 in the center. Flop comes out 10-9 deuce. Much better for his range than for mine. And as Mark Goon would say, just check my range to this particular player. He is an aggressive player who probably would overstab quite a bit. So I check it over to him, see what he would do and what sizing he would use. I thought if he would go like a very small sizing that I would put in a check raise, and if he goes a large sizing, I might let him continue to bluff. Well, he put in like a medium sizing in my book. It makes it $85. I was very tempted to raise at this point, but since he was so aggressive, I thought if I would just call and a blank, anything smaller than the cards out there, the 10 or the 9, he would definitely continue because he's probably putting me on a big cards like ace king, ace queen, maybe king queen, something that I would 3-bet that is not necessarily an overpair. So after some thought, I decided just to put in the call and then go for the check raise on the turn when a blank hits. So I slide my chips in, and we see a turn card, which is the ace of clubs. Now, many of you would argue that just check calling the flop was not the best play, but I think everyone would agree that I should be betting this turn card because the ace is definitely in my range and not his, and I decided to check it. I don't know what I was thinking. I think a small bet here on the turn, make him call with all his draws and all his pairs, and then go for some value on the end. So in my book, this is really, really, really messed up, this hand. I really have to bet this. And it doesn't have to be big. Maybe 125 to 150, something that would just charge all his draws and make those like pair of 10s or pair of 9s stick around. Instead, I check it. He snap checks it back. River card comes, makes some potential straights. I don't think he's calling anything if he thinks I have an ace. If I check raise the flop, I get more money in there. If I bet small on the turn, I get more money in there. The way I played it, I got no more money in there. Here I'm limping in with a pair of 7s. I usually don't limp, but occasionally I'll do it, especially if people are raising quite frequently and overplaying their top pair type of hands. I try to see a cheap flop and see if I can win a big pot. Sure enough, the same player from the last hand ends up putting in a raise to $25. I'm sure my sevens are ahead of his range, but I don't want to be forcing him out. I want him to continue with all his bluffs if he has them. Hopefully the flop will be good and we can extract some money. The flop is good. It comes 5, 4, 3 rainbow. He quickly checks it. I think my hand is so good that I can actually slow play this. I'm not really worried about an overcard too much. I checked it back. Turn card comes is a jack. He makes a small bet for $20. I think this is just a feeler bet. I don't think he has a jack here at all. I'm going to put in the call and see if he tries to take it away from me on the river. Well, the river card comes is a good one. It's a 6 of hearts. We make the straight. He checks it over to me again. I am going to go ahead and bet this, and not a large sizing, just like $50. I think he's highly likely to try to steal it from me. And when he does, I'll just pick up some extra chips. I like it that he starts to think for a while, and then he reaches for some green chips. And then he slides them out, and he raises to $200. I snap call. I don't think there's any point in raising. I'm sure he has absolutely nothing. He just mucks his hand, and I show down the straight. So I ended up having a nice win, playing for 3 hours this day. Plus I got an extra $200 for the high hand with the ace king. Of course, that ace king hand I got extremely lucky on. But I have a couple other hands from the other days that are just like, I think you will like them. So here they are. I've been playing for about 30 minutes, basically staying even. There was a $6 straddle on this particular hand. A player opens for $20. Another player calls the $20, and I got aces in the small blind. I make it 70 to go. It's folded to the under the gun player who had the $6 straddle, and he makes the call. The original raiser decides to fold out, and the second player who called puts in the call. So we're going to end up having 3 players in here, and $223 in the pot. Now, opposed to the last time I had aces in the small blind, I'm up against 2 opponents. So if I get a good flop, I'm definitely going to be leading in this kind of situation. Get a jack 9-4 rainbow flop. Unless someone has pocket jacks or pocket nines, I think I'm in good shape. I should get a lot of action from people who have king, queen, queen 10, even king 10. And if they happen to have a jack, maybe they will play back at me. I doubt it, but maybe they might. So after I bet the $80, I get a call from the player that was in the under the gun position. Now, he's a fan of the vlog and likes to, play against me. And he always looks forward to making it on the vlog, and I think that sometimes he calls a little lighter than he should. The other player folds out, and we get a 3 of spades. Now, my stack to pot ratio is not very good. I got about $350 remaining, maybe $360, and there's $380 in the pot. So I just decided to jam. Now, jamming with less than a pot size bet always looks like it's the right play. But I feel like he is extremely weak, and I kind of wanted to get a little extra action. I wish there was a way for me to only bet $250, but then that'll only leave me with $100 behind. So jamming seems like my only choice, and he folds. There is a under the gun limp player who calls the under the gun, and then a raise to $25 from the aggressive player who was the same player I played with yesterday. I got ace king. Normally I just make this an instant 3-bet, but in this case I decided just to call. And then the player under the gun decides to put in a raise to $75. Now, he doesn't get out of line very often, and so I'm thinking that he has a strong hand, and I have ace king, so most likely he has hands like queens. Now, it's always possible he has hands like aces or kings, but in this situation, I think because I'm blocking both an ace and a king, I think he has queens. The other player actually folds out and it's back to me, and he doesn't have a very big stack, a little over $200 in it, and he has $75 in there already. And I'm going, I'm just going to see the whole run out. So I put him all in. He makes a very quick call. Hopefully we can flop an ace or a king on the flop and outrun his pair that I suspect he has. Flop comes ace, king, jack. Well, as long as he doesn't have jacks, I'm in good shape. Turns a deuce. River is an 8. I show my ace, king, and it's good. He does flash that he did have pocket queens. So we're running good on our flips. There's a $6 straddle. Player opens for $16. I'm on the button with ace, king offsuit. Seems like I get an ace, king a lot lately, and so I raised to $50. Now it comes around to the player in the under the gun position who is in the straddle, and he makes it 150. This is the same player who I played the hand before when I had the aces, and we saw the flop. He does like to get involved in flops with me quite a bit. He likes the vlog, and he definitely likes to be on the vlog. The other player ends up folding out. And of course, I'm putting him on a similar range as my previous opponent. I have both the ace and a king. Most likely he has a pocket pair. Of course, he can have a pocket pair weaker than queens. His range is a lot wider, you might say. So he can have queens, jacks, tens. Maybe he can be doing this with ace, king. I decided to jam, not only because I think I can get some folds from some of his weaker pairs, but because I've been running so goddamn hot with ace-king lately. And we head off to a flop with $1,200 in the pot. Comes jack 7-4 with a 3 and a 5. No aces, no kings. He shows pocket 10. I don't normally want to flip for 200 bigs in this kind of situation. I like to play more streets of poker than that. But he's an action player who was giving me plenty of action, wanted to make the vlog interesting. And I wasn't that far behind. So you might call it winner's tilt because I've been winning all these flips lately. But, so be it. You got to give a little action to get a little action, right? Now, some of you are going to find this one totally ridiculous, but I have my thought process. There's a $6 straddle. Player to my right limps in. I limp in with ace 7 suited, trying to see a cheap flop. It gets around to the straddler who raises to $50. Now, this player has about $200 in their stack, and it's been having kind of a rough day. They give away their hand strength by their sizing. And whenever he went with a large sizing, he had a very weak hand. And whenever he had a very strong hand, he would make normal raise sizes or even smaller ones. So when he raises to 50 in this situation, I'm thinking he has a really weak hand. And I think ace high is the best. So I'm going to jam on him. Now, my idea is to have him fold. But then again, I think that if he calls, I'll be ahead of his range with ace high. Yes, believe it or not, I think I'm ahead with ace high. And he tanks for a while. And then finally makes the call. So we're going to go see a flop and a run out. And the flop comes not very good for me. Queen, 6, 4, rainbow. I do have a backdoor flush draw. Turn cards a 10, no help. River cards a queen, no help. I announce ace high and show it. And he says, that's good. You know what's better than winning a hand with ace high is having everyone see it and then pick up a real hand like ace king suited. I open for a raise to 15. I get call from 2 players. So we're going to go 3 ways to a flop. That comes up 9-5-4 with 2 diamonds. So I got a flush draw, 2 overcards. I'm going to continue for $20. Both players end up putting in the call for the $20. Well, only thing we need to do is make our hand. Turn card comes as the ace of clubs, gives us top pair, top kicker. First player checks. I bet for $40. I got top pair, flush draw, top kicker, and then a conservative player check raises me, but to $100. Not a big sizing. I'm sure I'm beat at this point, but I have a ton of outs, so I put in a call for the $60. And we see a river card that comes 5 of clubs, pairs the board. They check it over to me. I'm just going to check it back. Most likely they had some sort of 2 pair like ace 4. And sure enough, they show the ace 4 of hearts. They get counterfeited and we take down the pot. So overall, a very good week, except for that one hand where I went all in with ace king against pocket tens. Everything basically went my way, which is always a very nice thing when you're playing poker. For the week, we win almost 1,400. For the month, well, you can see that thing's above the 4K mark. For the year, we're up there by 11K. Not bad. Well, I really appreciate you guys making it to the end of the video, and if you can just take a moment and vote on whether you like the new song, new intro better than the old one. And of course, thank you for watching the video, and we'll see you next week. And until then, good luck at the tables, and we'll see you back here soon.